Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair aboard the exploration vessel Earth's Hope. The ship floated quietly in space near the edge of human territory. Jake was reading reports when his communications officer turned around with a worried look. "Captain, we have an incoming transmission from the Galactic Council." "It's marked as urgent," said Communications Officer Pete Walsh. Jake nodded. "Put it on the main screen." The large display in front of them flickered to life. An alien face appeared on screen. The creature had blue-gray skin and 4 eyes that blinked one at a time. Jake recognized the species as Vrex, one of the older races in the galaxy. "Greetings, human vessel. I am Delegate Zefka of the Vrex Federation. I speak for the Galactic Council on a matter of great importance." Jake stood up and straightened his uniform. "This is Captain Morrison of Earth's Hope. What can we do for you, Delegate?" The alien's 4 eyes focused on Jake. "Captain Morrison, we have learned that your species is planning to explore the Crimson Nebula sector. You must not do this. The Council formally forbids any human ships from entering that region of space." Jake raised an eyebrow. Humans had only been part of the galactic community for 50 years, but they had always been free to explore where they wanted. "May I ask why, Delegate Zefka?" The alien's skin changed to a darker shade of blue. "Because that sector is home to the Void Leviathan. For 3,000 years, no ship that has entered the Crimson Nebula has ever returned. The beast destroys everything that comes near it." Jake had heard stories about the Leviathan, but he thought they were just space legends. "Are you certain this creature exists?" Zefka pressed some controls off-screen. A holographic image appeared above Jake's command console. The image showed a massive creature floating in the darkness of space. It looked like a giant sea creature with long tentacles that glowed with strange lights. The thing was enormous, easily the size of a small moon. "This image was taken by one of our long-range probes before it was destroyed," Zefka explained. "The Void Leviathan is very real, Captain Morrison. It lives in the deep space between the stars and the Crimson Nebula. Any ship that comes too close is attacked and destroyed." Jake studied the hologram carefully. The creature was unlike anything he had ever seen. Its body seemed to be made of some kind of dark organic material that absorbed light. Bright blue and green patterns ran along its tentacles like veins carrying energy. "How big is it exactly?" Jake asked. "Our measurements show it to be approximately 12 kilometers from head to tail. Its tentacles can extend up to 20 kilometers in length. The creature appears to be some kind of space-dwelling organism that feeds on energy." Jake's science officer, Dr. Helen Brooks, stepped forward. "Delegate, what kind of attacks has this creature made? Has anyone tried to communicate with it?" Zefka's 4 eyes all focused on Dr. Brooks. "Communication? Doctor, this is not an intelligent being. It is a monster driven by hunger and rage. In the past 3,000 years, 47 different ships from 12 different species have entered the Crimson Nebula. None have ever been seen again. But have any of those ships actually tried to make peaceful contact?" Dr. Brooks pressed. The alien delegate made a sound that might have been laughter, but it sounded more like static. "Peaceful contact? Doctor, you humans are very young in the galaxy. You do not understand the dangers that exist in the dark spaces between stars. This creature cannot be reasoned with. It cannot be tamed. It cannot be destroyed. It can only be avoided." Jake looked at his crew. He could see the curiosity in their eyes. Humans had always been explorers, and being told they couldn't go somewhere only made them want to go there more. "Delegate Zefka, I appreciate the warning, but Earth Command will make the final decision about our exploration plans." The alien's skin turned an even darker shade of blue. "Captain Morrison, I urge you to listen to wisdom. The Korthek Empire sent their most powerful warship to destroy the Leviathan 200 years ago. The ship carried enough firepower to crack a planet in half. It was found 3 days later, crushed into a ball of twisted metal. What about the Helix Confederation?" asked Jake's tactical officer, Lieutenant Gary Stone. "They're supposed to have the best shields in the galaxy." "They sent a fleet of 12 ships 50 years ago," Zefka replied. "All were destroyed within hours. The few escape pods that were recovered contained crews that had been driven insane. They spoke of tentacles that could crush entire ships and a psychic presence that filled their minds with terror." Dr. Brooks made notes on her datapad. "Psychic abilities? That's interesting. What kind of mental effects did the survivors report?" "Nightmares, visions of destruction, voices speaking in unknown languages. Most never recovered their sanity. The few who did recover refused to speak about what they experienced." Jake walked closer to the hologram, studying the creature from different angles. There was something about it that seemed almost beautiful despite its terrifying size. The glowing patterns on its tentacles moved in waves, like some kind of cosmic dance. Delegate, you said the creature feeds on energy. What kind of energy? Unknown. Our scientists believe it may consume the energy from ship engines, weapons, or even the life force of living beings. The exact mechanism is unclear because no one has ever observed the creature feeding and lived to report it. Lieutenant Stone checked his tactical display. Sir, according to our navigation charts, the Crimson Nebula is rich in rare elements. If we could mine that region, it would provide enough materials to build hundreds of new ships. Zefka overheard this comment. Lieutenant, no amount of resources is worth facing the Void Leviathan. My own people tried to establish a mining operation in that sector 800 years ago. We lost 6 ships and 300 lives before we abandoned the attempt. But that was 800 years ago, Dr. Brooks pointed out. Technology has advanced significantly since then. Maybe modern ships with better shields and weapons could survive an encounter. The alien delegate's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, showing extreme agitation. Dr. Brooks, you speak like a typical human. You think technology can solve every problem. You think you can tame the untamable. This attitude will get your people killed. Jake returned to his command chair. Delegate Zefka, I understand your concerns and I'm grateful for the warning. I'll make sure this information reaches Earth Command immediately. See that you do, Captain Morrison. The Galactic Council will not be responsible for any human ships that ignore our warning and enter the Crimson Nebula sector. The transmission ended, and the main screen returned to showing the stars outside. Dr. Brooks approached Jake's chair. Captain, this is fascinating. A space-dwelling organism of that size would be one of the most important discoveries in galactic history. Lieutenant Stone nodded, and if the Crimson Nebula really does contain rare elements, establishing a presence there could give humanity a major advantage in space construction. Jake looked out at the stars through the main view screen. Somewhere out there in the darkness was a creature that had terrorized the galaxy for thousands of years. Every advanced alien species had failed to deal with it. But humans were different. They had always found ways to survive and thrive in impossible situations. Pete, send a full report to Earth Command. Include everything the delegate told us and all the sensor data from that hologram. Yes, sir, replied Communications Officer Walsh. Jake smiled slightly. He had a feeling this wouldn't be the last time they heard about the Void Leviathan. Humans had never been good at staying away from dangerous places, especially when those places contained something worth discovering. Commander Lisa Parker stood in the main laboratory of the science vessel New Dawn. Around her, screens displayed data about the Crimson Nebula sector. Her research team had been studying the information for 3 weeks since Captain Morrison's report reached Earth Command. Dr. Clark, what's your analysis of the creature's behavior patterns? Lisa asked. Dr. Ben Clark looked up from his workstation. He was a tall man with gray hair who had spent most of his life studying alien life forms. Commander, based on the attack reports, I don't think this creature is just a mindless monster. Lisa walked over to Ben's station. Explain. Ben pulled up a star chart showing the positions where ships had been destroyed over the past 3,000 years. Look at this pattern, Commander. Every attack happened within a specific zone in the nebula. The creature doesn't roam around randomly destroying ships. It stays in one area and only attacks vessels that enter that space. So it's territorial, said Dr. Amy Foster, the team's communications specialist. Exactly, Ben replied. Territorial behavior suggests intelligence. The creature is protecting something in that region of space. Lisa studied the data more carefully. What could it be protecting? Unknown, but territorial behavior is common among intelligent species. They protect their homes, their young or important resources. Dr. Sarah Hughes, the team's pilot and navigation expert, joined the discussion. I've been analyzing the flight patterns of the destroyed ships. Most of them were moving directly toward the center of the nebula when they were attacked. What's at the center? Lisa asked. Sarah brought up a detailed scan of the nebula's interior. Long-range sensors show unusual energy readings from the core region. There might be some kind of natural phenomenon there, or perhaps the creature has built something. Lisa considered this information. Earth Command had asked her team to determine whether a mission to the Crimson Nebula was feasible. The political pressure was intense because the nebula contained elements that humanity desperately needed for their next generation of faster-than-light engines. Dr. Clark, in your professional opinion, Is it possible to communicate with this creature? Ben scratched his chin thoughtfully. Commander, if the creature is truly intelligent and territorial rather than simply aggressive, then communication might be possible. The key would be approaching it in a way that doesn't trigger its defensive instincts. The other alien species tried to fight it or sneak past it, Amy added. Maybe they triggered its territorial response by acting like threats. Lisa nodded.
What about the psychic effects?
The survivors who were driven insane? That's actually more evidence of intelligence, Ben explained. Many advanced alien species have psychic abilities. If this creature has such abilities, it might use them for communication as well as defense. Sarah pulled up the technical specifications of various ships that had been destroyed. Commander, I noticed something interesting. All the ships that were destroyed were military vessels or heavily armed mining ships. No unarmed science vessels appear in the records. That could be because no unarmed ships were foolish enough to enter the area, Amy pointed out. Or, Ben said slowly, it could mean the creature distinguishes between threats and non-threats. Lisa walked to the main viewing window and looked out at the stars. The decision she made would affect not just her crew, but potentially all of humanity's future in space. The rare elements in the Crimson Nebula could advance human technology by decades, but the risk was enormous. Computer, open a channel to Earth Command, Lisa ordered. The communication system activated, and Admiral Kate Nelson's face appeared on the main screen. Kate was a no-nonsense officer who had commanded space operations for the past 10 years. Commander Parker, what's your assessment? Admiral, my team believes the Void Leviathan is an intelligent creature exhibiting territorial behavior. We think communication might be possible. Admiral Nelson frowned. Commander, every advanced alien species in the galaxy has failed to deal with this creature. What makes you think we can succeed where they failed? Lisa looked at her team. She could see the excitement in their eyes. This was the kind of discovery that scientists dreamed about. Admiral, the other species all approached the creature as an enemy to be destroyed or avoided. We're proposing to approach it as a potential contact. That's a hell of a gamble, Commander. Yes, ma'am, it is. But consider the potential benefits. If we can establish peaceful contact with a creature that powerful, it could change everything. And if we can access the resources in the Crimson Nebula, humanity's expansion into space could accelerate dramatically. Admiral Nelson was quiet for a long moment. What kind of mission are you proposing? Dr. Clark stepped forward. Admiral, we would take a single science vessel with minimal weapons. Our approach would be slow and non-threatening. We would attempt to establish communication before entering the creature's territorial zone. And if communication fails, then we retreat immediately, Lisa said. Our ship would be equipped with the fastest engines available and the best shields we can build. Sarah added, Admiral, I've designed several escape routes that would take us out of the nebula quickly if needed. Admiral Nelson studied their faces through the screen. How long would you need to prepare for such a mission? 3 months, Lisa replied. We need time to modify the New Dawn with experimental communication equipment and enhanced shielding. Commander Parker, I want you to understand something. If I approve this mission and you're wrong about the creature being intelligent, you and your entire crew will likely die. Lisa straightened her shoulders. I understand, Admiral, but if we're right, we could make the most important discovery in human history. The Admiral was quiet again for several minutes. Lisa could almost see her weighing the risks against the potential rewards. Finally, Admiral Nelson spoke. Commander, you have 3 months to prepare, but I'm adding conditions to this mission. First, you will not enter the creature's territorial zone until you have established some form of communication. Second, if there is any sign of immediate danger, you will retreat immediately. Third, you will maintain constant contact with Earth Command. Understood, Admiral. And Commander, I'm putting Captain Morrison and his crew on standby. If you get into trouble, Earth's Hope will attempt a rescue mission. Lisa smiled. Thank you, Admiral. We won't let humanity down. After the transmission ended, the team looked at each other with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Well, people, we have 3 months to figure out how to talk to the most dangerous creature in the galaxy, Lisa said. Ben grinned. I've always wanted to meet something that could teach us about the universe. Amy started making notes on her datapad. I'll begin working on communication protocols immediately. Sarah was already pulling up star charts. I'll plot the safest route to the nebula and prepare multiple escape plans. Lisa looked out at the stars again. Somewhere in the darkness was a creature that had terrified the galaxy for thousands of years. In 3 months, they would find out if humans could succeed where every other species had failed. The mission to contact the Void Leviathan was about to begin. The science vessel New Dawn moved slowly through the edge of the Crimson Nebula. Red and orange gases swirled around the ship like cosmic fog. Commander Lisa Parker stood on the bridge watching the sensor displays carefully. "Tony, reduce speed to 1/4 impulse," she ordered. Navigator Tony Martinez nodded from his station. "Reducing speed, Commander. We're now moving at 20,000 kilometers per hour." Dr. Ben Clark looked up from his science station. "Commander, I'm detecting unusual energy readings ahead. The signature matches what we expected from the Void Leviathan." Lisa felt her heart rate increase. After 3 months of preparation, they were finally about to encounter the creature that had destroyed so many ships. "How far away?" "Approximately 50,000 kilometers in closing," Ben replied. Sarah Hughes checked her pilot controls. "All systems are green, Commander. Engines are ready for emergency acceleration if needed." Amy Foster monitored the communications equipment. "Psychic dampening fields are active. If the creature tries to attack our minds, we should have some protection." Lisa activated the ship's intercom. "All hands, this is the commander. We are approaching the Void Leviathan's position. Everyone should remain calm and follow emergency procedures if ordered." The bridge fell silent except for the quiet hum of the ship's systems. Everyone watched their displays as the New Dawn continued deeper into the nebula. "Commander, I'm getting a massive contact on sensors," Ben announced. "It's directly ahead, approximately 30,000 kilometers." "Put it on the main screen," Lisa ordered. The view screen flickered and then showed an image that made everyone gasp. The Void Leviathan was even more impressive than the holographic images they had studied. The creature floated in space like a living mountain. Its dark body absorbed the light from nearby stars, making it look like a hole in space itself. Bright blue and green patterns pulsed along its massive tentacles. "My God," whispered Tony. "It's beautiful." The creature was indeed beautiful in a terrifying way. Its movements were graceful despite its enormous size. The tentacles flowed through space like they were swimming in water. "Ben, what are your readings?" Lisa asked. "Length is approximately 12 kilometers, just as the reports indicated. Mass is difficult to determine because the creature seems to be partially composed of energy. I'm detecting powerful bioelectric fields around its body." Amy checked her communication equipment. "Commander, I'm picking up something strange. There's a low-frequency transmission coming from the creature. Can you decode it?" "I'm trying. It's not like any language pattern I've ever seen. It seems to be more like musical tones or mathematical sequences." Suddenly, the creature stopped moving. All of its tentacles became perfectly still. "Commander, it spotted us," Tony said nervously. The Leviathan slowly turned its massive head toward the New Dawn. Even from 30,000 kilometers away, they could see what looked like enormous eyes studying their ship. "Sarah, be ready to get us out of here fast," Lisa ordered. "Ready, Commander." For several minutes, nothing happened. The creature simply floated in space watching them. Lisa realized this was the moment of truth. Every other ship that had reached this point had been attacked and destroyed. "Amy, try sending a basic mathematical sequence. Start with prime numbers." Amy worked at her console. "Transmitting now, Commander." They waited. The Leviathan continued to stare at them without moving. "Commander, the creature is responding," Amy said excitedly. "It's sending back the same sequence, but with the next 3 prime numbers added." Lisa felt a surge of hope. "It understands mathematics. That's definitely a sign of intelligence. Try something more complex," suggested Ben. Amy transmitted a sequence showing the mathematical relationship between the circumference and diameter of a circle. Again, the creature responded correctly. "Commander, this is amazing," Amy said. "The creature is not only intelligent, but it understands advanced mathematics." Sarah noticed something on her navigation display. "Commander, the creature is moving toward us, but very slowly." Lisa watched as the massive being began to approach. Its movements were careful and deliberate, not threatening. "How fast is it moving?" she asked. "Only about 1,000 kilometers per hour. At this rate, it would take hours to reach us." Ben studied his sensor readings. "Commander, I think the creature is being deliberately non-threatening. It could move much faster if it wanted to attack us." As they watched, the Leviathan extended one of its smaller tentacles toward them. The appendage was still enormous, easily a kilometer long, but it moved slowly and gently. "Amy, are you still receiving transmissions?" "Yes, Commander. The patterns are becoming more complex. It's almost like the creature is trying to teach us its language. Lisa made a decision that would change everything. Sarah, move us closer to the creature slowly. Sarah looked surprised. Commander, are you sure? The creature is showing us that it's not hostile. We need to show the same trust. The new dawn began moving toward the void Leviathan. As they got closer, the true scale of the creature became apparent. It was like approaching a living planet. 10,000 kilometers and closing, Tony reported. The creature's tentacle continued to extend toward them, but it stopped when it was still several kilometers away from their ship. Amy, what are the transmissions telling us now? Commander, I think the creature is trying to communicate something about caution or safety. The patterns seem to be warning us not to come too close too quickly. Lisa was amazed. The creature was being protective of them, making sure they didn't accidentally get hurt. All stop, she ordered. The new dawn came to a halt 5 kilometers away from the Leviathan's extended tentacle. They were close enough to see incredible details on the creature's surface. Its skin seemed to be made of some kind of organic crystal that reflected and refracted light in beautiful patterns. Ben, are you detecting any dangerous energy levels? No, Commander. In fact, the creature seems to be dampening its energy output. I think it's trying not to damage our systems. Amy worked frantically at her console. Commander, I'm beginning to understand parts of the creature's communication system. It's incredibly complex, combining mathematical concepts with emotional concepts. What kind of emotions? Lisa asked. Curiosity, caution, and something that might be loneliness. The word loneliness hit Lisa like a physical blow. This creature had been alone in space for thousands of years, attacking ships because it thought they were threats. No one had ever tried to communicate with it peacefully. Amy, try to send a message conveying peaceful intentions and friendship. Amy worked for several minutes, translating human concepts into the creature's mathematical emotional language. When she transmitted the message, the result was immediate and dramatic. The Leviathan's entire body began to glow brighter. The patterns on its tentacles shifted to warmer colors, golds and soft blues instead of the harsh greens they had seen before. Commander, the creature's response is incredible, Amy said with tears in her eyes. I think it's expressing joy. For the first time in 3,000 years, the void Leviathan was not alone. The humans had succeeded where every other species had failed, not through force or trickery, but through patience and understanding. This is Commander Parker to Earth Command, Lisa said into her communicator. We have successfully established contact with the void Leviathan. The creature is intelligent and peaceful. Repeat, peaceful contact has been established. Ben looked at his readings in amazement. Commander, the creature is doing something I've never seen before. It's creating some kind of energy field around our ship. Is it dangerous? No, it's protective. I think the Leviathan is making sure we're safe. Sarah checked her navigation systems. Commander, we're being very gently moved away from a cosmic radiation field that was heading toward us. The creature spotted the danger before our sensors did. Lisa smiled. The void Leviathan wasn't a monster at all. It was a guardian, a protector that had been misunderstood for thousands of years. The first step toward friendship with the most powerful creature in the galaxy had been taken. 3 days had passed since first contact with the void Leviathan. The new dawn remained in position near the massive creature, and the crew had been working around the clock to understand their new cosmic neighbor. Dr. Ben Clark rubbed his tired eyes and looked at the data on his screen. Commander Parker, I think I'm beginning to understand why this creature attacks ships. Lisa walked over to Ben's science station. What have you found? Ben pointed to a 3-dimensional map showing the interior of the Crimson Nebula. Look at this sensor data. The Leviathan isn't randomly floating around this region. It's following specific patrol routes. Patrol routes? Yes, it moves in a pattern that covers the entire central area of the nebula. But look at what's in the center. Ben highlighted an area on the map where dozens of smaller energy signatures appeared. The signatures were much smaller than the Leviathan, but still quite large. Are those ships? Lisa asked. No, Commander. I think those are the Leviathan's offspring. Amy Foster looked up from her communication station. That would explain a lot. The creature isn't just territorial, it's protecting its young. Lisa studied the map more carefully. The smaller creatures were clustered in an area rich with cosmic gases and energy fields. It looked like a perfect nursery for space-dwelling life forms. How many offspring are there? She asked. Ben counted the signatures. At least 30, possibly more. They range in size from about 50 meters to over a kilometer in length. Sarah Hughes checked her navigation data. Commander, every ship that was destroyed approached that central nursery area. The Leviathan was defending its children. Lisa felt a surge of understanding. For 3,000 years, alien ships had been accidentally threatening the creature's young. No wonder it attacked them. Any parent would do the same to protect their children. Amy, can you ask the Leviathan about the smaller creatures? Amy had been working to improve communication with the massive being. Over the past 3 days, she had developed a basic translation system that converted human concepts into the creature's mathematical emotional language. I'll try. Commander. Amy sent a complex series of mathematical patterns combined with emotional concepts representing family, protection, and young life. The response was immediate. The Leviathan's whole body began to glow with warm golden light. Commander, the creature is showing us something, Amy said excitedly. The main view screen displayed an image being transmitted directly from the Leviathan's mind. It showed the central nursery area from the creature's perspective. Dozens of smaller beings swam through the cosmic gases, feeding on energy and growing larger. They're beautiful, whispered Tony Martinez. The young Leviathans looked like smaller versions of their parent. They had the same flowing tentacles and bioluminescent patterns, but their colors were brighter and more playful. Some were barely the size of a shuttle, while others were as large as a space station. Ben, how old do you think the offspring are? Lisa asked. Ben studied the sensor data. Based on their size and energy output, I'd estimate they range from very young to several hundred years old. The Leviathan appears to care for its young for centuries. Amy continued to communicate with the adult creature. Commander, I'm getting more information. The Leviathan is telling us that its species is very rare. These might be the only Leviathans left in this part of the galaxy. That makes them incredibly valuable from a scientific perspective, Ben added. We could be looking at the last family of space-dwelling megafauna in this sector. Lisa made a decision. Amy, ask the Leviathan if we can visit the nursery area. Make it clear that we want to help, not harm. Amy transmitted the request along with concepts of healing, assistance, and scientific study. The Leviathan's response was cautious but positive. The creature is willing to let us approach, but slowly and with only one ship, Amy reported. Sarah began plotting a course. Commander, the nursery is about 20,000 kilometers from here. At low speed, it would take us about 2 hours to reach it. Do it. But Sarah, I want you to follow the exact path the Leviathan shows us. We don't want to accidentally threaten any of the young ones. The new dawn began moving toward the center of the nebula. Guided by the adult Leviathan, the massive creature swam alongside them, its tentacles creating gentle currents in the cosmic gases. As they approached the nursery, the crew could see the young Leviathans more clearly. They moved through the gas clouds like dolphins playing in ocean waves. Their bioluminescent patterns created a light show that was unlike anything the humans had ever seen. Commander, one of the young ones is approaching us, Tony reported. A Leviathan about the size of a small spacecraft swam up to the new dawn. Its tentacles were bright purple and blue, and it seemed curious about the strange vessel. Amy, can you communicate with it? I'm trying. Its thought patterns are simpler than the adult's, more emotional and instinctual. Suddenly, Ben's sensors detected a problem. Commander, this young creature has been injured. I'm reading damaged tissue and disrupted energy flows along its left side. Lisa looked at the injured young Leviathan. A section of its body showed dark patches where the normal bioluminescent patterns were dim or missing. Can we help it? Dr. Mike Taylor, the ship's medical officer, had been studying the Leviathan biology for the past 3 days. Commander, I think our medical equipment might be able to help. The creature's injuries appear to be caused by cosmic radiation damage. How would we treat something that size? Mike pulled up his research data. The Leviathans seem to be partially energy beings. Our bioregeneration equipment works by stimulating cellular repair with focused energy fields. It might work on these creatures too. Lisa looked at the injured young Leviathan floating near their ship. The creature seemed to be in pain, its movement sluggish compared to the other young ones. Amy, ask the adult Leviathan if we can try to heal its offspring. Amy transmitted the request, including concepts of healing, medicine, and care. The adult creature's response was filled with hope and desperation. Commander, the adult is saying that this injury has been getting worse for months. It's tried to heal its offspring but doesn't know how. Lisa made another crucial decision. Mike, prepare the medical equipment. We're going to attempt the first interspecies medical treatment between humans and space whales. Dr. Taylor worked quickly to modify the ship's medical systems. The bioregeneration equipment was designed to work on humans, but he adjusted the energy frequencies to match what they had learned about Leviathan biology. Ready, Commander. I'll need to extend a medical probe from our ship to make contact with the creature. Sarah carefully maneuvered the new Dawn closer to the injured young Leviathan. The creature seemed to understand what they were trying to do and remained perfectly still. The medical probe extended from the ship and gently touched the damaged area on the creature's side. Dr. Taylor activated the bioregeneration field. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The dark patches on the creature's body began to glow as the healing energy stimulated its natural repair processes. Within minutes, the bioluminescent patterns were returning to normal. It's working, Mike said with amazement. The creature's energy flows are stabilizing. The young Leviathan's tentacles began to glow brighter as its pain disappeared. It swam in happy circles around the new Dawn, its patterns shifting to bright yellows and golds. Amy received a flood of communication from the adult Leviathan. Commander, the adult is overwhelmed with gratitude. It's saying that we've saved its child. Other young Leviathans swam over to investigate what had happened. They surrounded the new Dawn with curious, gentle movements. Ben, are any of the other offspring injured? Ben scanned the area. I'm detecting minor injuries on several of them. Cosmic radiation damage seems to be a common problem in this environment. Lisa smiled. Then we have a lot of work to do. Amy, tell our new friend that we'd like to help heal all of its children. The adult Leviathan's response was so intense with joy and gratitude that it temporarily overloaded Amy's communication equipment. Commander, I think we've just made the most powerful ally in the galaxy, Amy said. As the new Dawn began treating the other injured offspring, Lisa realized that they had discovered something amazing. The Void Leviathan wasn't a monster to be feared. It was a parent protecting its family in a dangerous universe. And now, for the first time in thousands of years, it wasn't alone in that task. 2 weeks had passed since the new Dawn had begun helping to heal the young Leviathans. The crew had fallen into a routine of medical treatments, scientific observations, and increasingly complex communications with their massive host. Lucy Carter sat in the ship's small psychology lab, studying the communication patterns they had recorded. As the ship's xenopsychologist, she had been trying to understand the emotional and mental aspects of the Leviathan's thoughts. Amy, can you play back that conversation from yesterday when we were discussing stellar navigation? Lucy asked. Amy Foster brought up the audio recording of the mathematical emotional exchange between the ship and the Leviathan. To most people, it sounded like musical tones mixed with electronic beeps, but Lucy had learned to hear the underlying emotions. There, Lucy said, pointing to a specific section of the recording. Do you hear that sadness in the background? Amy listened carefully. Yes, I think I do. What do you think it means? I think our friend is lonely, Amy. Incredibly, profoundly lonely. Commander Lisa Parker entered the lab. What have you found, Lucy? Lucy turned to face her commander. Lisa, I think the Leviathan has been alone for much longer than we originally thought. Its emotional patterns suggest centuries, maybe millennia of isolation. But it has its offspring, Lisa pointed out. Yes, but they're children. The Leviathan needs adult companionship, intellectual equals to communicate with. Imagine being the only adult human in a nursery full of babies for 1,000 years. Lisa sat down next to Lucy. That's a horrible thought. The creature is incredibly intelligent, possibly more intelligent than any species we've encountered, but it's had no one to share that intelligence with. Amy brought up a new recording. Lucy, listen to this. It's from this morning when Ben was explaining human art to the Leviathan. The recording played and Lucy's eyes widened. Amy, these emotional patterns are completely different. There's joy here and curiosity and something like wonder. What was Ben showing it? Pictures of Earth, paintings, sculptures, music recordings. Human creative works. Lucy stood up excitedly. That's it. The Leviathan has never experienced art before. Its species might be purely practical, focused on survival and protection. Human creativity is completely new to it. Lisa activated her communicator. Ben, Lucy, Amy, and I are coming to the bridge. I want to try something. When they gathered on the bridge, Lisa explained her idea. I want to share more of human culture with the Leviathan. If Lucy is right about it being lonely and fascinated by creativity, maybe we can form a deeper connection. Ben nodded. I've been thinking the same thing. The creature seems hungry for new experiences and ideas. Amy prepared the communication system. What should we share first? Lucy thought for a moment. Music. Music is universal. It combines mathematics with emotion in a way that might appeal to a creature that communicates through mathematical emotional patterns. Sarah Hughes suggested, how about Beethoven's Ninth Symphony? It's about joy and human unity. They transmitted the symphony along with visual representations of the mathematical structures underlying the music. The Leviathan's response was immediate and overwhelming. The massive creature's entire body began to pulse with light in rhythm with the music. Its tentacles moved in flowing patterns that matched the melody. For the first time since they had met it, the Leviathan seemed truly happy. Look at that, whispered Tony Martinez. It's dancing. The sight of a 12-kilometer space creature gracefully moving to human classical music was one of the most beautiful things any of them had ever seen. When the symphony ended, the Leviathan sent back its own creation, a complex pattern of lights and movements that somehow conveyed the same emotions as the music, but in a completely alien way. It's composing, Amy said in amazement. The creature just created its own symphony for us. Over the following days, they shared more human culture. They transmitted paintings by Van Gogh and Picasso, poetry by Shakespeare and Maya Angelou, and recordings of different types of music from around Earth. Each time, the Leviathan responded with its own creations. It painted with light across its body, told stories through movement, and composed symphonies of color and motion. Lucy spent hours each day in direct communication with the creature, which they had begun calling Cosmos. She discovered that Cosmos had been observing the galaxy for thousands of years, learning about different species and civilizations, but never being able to interact with them. Cosmos has seen the rise and fall of entire civilizations, Lucy explained to the crew during a briefing. It remembers star systems that no longer exist and species that died out before humans even evolved. What does it think about the different alien species? Lisa asked. It's frustrated by them. Most species Cosmos has observed are focused on war, conquest, or profit. Very few show the creativity and curiosity that humans display. Ben leaned forward. Does Cosmos understand why we're different? Lucy smiled. It says humans are the first species it's met that create beauty for its own sake. Other species make art for religious purposes or to display wealth. But humans make art just because they enjoy creating something beautiful. This revelation led to deeper conversations between the crew and Cosmos. The ancient creature shared its observations about the galaxy, describing civilizations that had existed millions of years ago and cosmic phenomena that no human had ever imagined. In return, the humans shared their hopes and dreams for the future. They talked about their desire to explore the galaxy, to learn about other forms of life, and to spread human culture throughout the stars. Cosmos was particularly fascinated by human emotions. The creature's species seemed to experience only basic feelings related to survival and protection of offspring. Human emotions like love, humor, nostalgia, and artistic inspiration were completely new concepts. Lucy asked Cosmos what it thinks of human laughter, Lisa suggested one day. Lucy transmitted the concept along with recordings of people laughing. Cosmos's response was confusion at first, but when Lucy explained that laughter was how humans expressed joy and shared happiness with others, the creature's excitement was overwhelming. Cosmos wants to learn how to laugh, Lucy reported with a smile. They spent an hour teaching Cosmos about humor, sharing jokes and funny stories. When the creature finally understood the concept, it created its own version of laughter, a pattern of lights that sparkled across its body like cosmic fireworks. The bond between the humans and Cosmos deepened each day. The creature began to anticipate their needs, creating energy fields to protect them from radiation and gently guiding dangerous debris away from their ship. One morning, Ben made an alarming discovery. Commander, I'm detecting damage to one of our primary systems. The constant exposure to the nebula's energy fields is causing degradation in our shield generators. Before Lisa could respond, Cosmos had surrounded their ship with a protective energy field, that was far more effective than their mechanical shields. "Amy, ask Cosmos how it knew we were in danger," Lisa requested. The creature's response was simple and touching. It had been monitoring their ship's condition constantly, watching over them like a parent watches over a child. "Cosmos says it will always protect us," Amy translated. "We're family now." Lucy felt tears in her eyes. The most feared creature in the galaxy had become their guardian and friend. The void leviathan that had terrorized space travelers for thousands of years was actually a gentle giant that had been desperately lonely. "Commander," Lucy said, "I think we need to introduce Cosmos to the rest of humanity. This creature could teach us things about the universe that we never dreamed of learning." Lisa nodded. "And humanity could teach Cosmos about friendship, creativity, and all the things that make life worth living." As the new dawn continued to float safely in the embrace of Cosmos's protective field, the crew realized they had accomplished something unprecedented. They had not only made contact with an alien intelligence, but they had formed a genuine friendship that bridged the gap between two completely different forms of life. The beast that couldn't be tamed had never needed taming at all. It had only needed understanding. Captain Jake Morrison aboard Earth's Hope received the emergency transmission while his ship patrolled the outer edge of human space. The message was brief but alarming. "Captain Morrison, this is Admiral Nelson. A joint alien fleet is heading toward the Crimson Nebula to intercept the new dawn. They claim Commander Parker and her crew have been compromised by the Leviathan. You are ordered to proceed to the nebula immediately." Jake turned to his tactical officer. "Gary, set course for the Crimson Nebula, maximum speed." Lieutenant Gary Stone worked at his console. "Course laid in, sir. At maximum warp will arrive in 18 hours. "Too long," Jake muttered. He activated the communication system. "This is Earth's Hope to New Dawn. Commander Parker, please respond." Static filled the channel for several seconds before Lisa Parker's voice came through clearly. "Jake, good to hear from you. What's your status?" "Lisa, we've got problems. A joint alien fleet is heading your way. They think your crew has been mentally compromised by the Leviathan." On the bridge of the New Dawn, Lisa looked at her crew with concern. They had been in the nebula for 3 weeks now, and their friendship with Cosmos had grown stronger each day. "How many ships, Jake?" "Intel reports 12 vessels from 6 different species. They're being led by Admiral Korth Vel of the Hegemony. He's convinced that the Leviathan has turned you into some kind of mind-controlled servants." Lucy Carter shook her head. "That's ridiculous. Cosmos has never tried to control our thoughts. If anything, it's been extremely careful not to overwhelm us with its psychic abilities." Amy Foster monitored the long-range sensors. "Commander, I'm detecting the alien fleet. They'll be here in about 6 hours. Lisa made a quick decision. "Amy, explain the situation to Cosmos. Make sure it understands that these ships are coming to attack us, not to communicate." Amy transmitted the information to the massive creature floating nearby. Cosmos's response was immediate and filled with protective anger. "Commander, Cosmos is very upset," Amy reported. "It considers us family now and it won't let anyone harm us." Ben Clark looked worried. "Commander, if Cosmos attacks that fleet, it will confirm every terrible thing the aliens believe about it. They'll think it really is a monster that controls minds." Lisa knew Ben was right. If the alien fleet was destroyed, it would start a war between humanity and the rest of the galaxy. But if they tried to fight the fleet without Cosmos's help, the New Dawn would likely be destroyed. "Amy, tell Cosmos that we need to try talking to the aliens first. Ask it to remain hidden if possible." 6 hours later, the alien fleet arrived at the edge of the Crimson Nebula. Admiral Korth Vel, a tall insectoid creature with 4 arms and compound eyes, commanded the flagship Sovereign Justice. "This is Admiral Korth Vel to the human vessel New Dawn. You will power down your engines and prepare to be boarded for medical examination." Lisa responded calmly. "Admiral Korth Vel, this is Commander Parker. My crew and I are in perfect health. We have successfully established peaceful contact with the Void Leviathan. Commander Parker, your claim is impossible. No species has ever successfully communicated with that creature. You and your crew have clearly been subjected to psychic manipulation." "Admiral, I assure you that is not the case. The Leviathan, which we call Cosmos, is a peaceful, intelligent being that has been misunderstood for thousands of years." Admiral Korth Vel's translator made clicking sounds that indicated extreme skepticism. "Commander, the creature you call Cosmos has destroyed hundreds of ships over the millennia. It is a threat to all spacefaring life. Dr. Ben Clark stepped forward. Admiral, may I transmit our research data to your fleet? We have scientific proof that the Leviathan only attacked ships that threatened its offspring. Dr. Clark, any data you have collected has been tainted by psychic influence. We cannot trust anything you say. Lisa felt frustrated. The aliens had made up their minds before they even arrived. Admiral, what evidence would convince you that we haven't been compromised? There is no evidence that could convince me, Commander. The creature's psychic abilities are too powerful. You may not even realize you're being controlled. At that moment, the alien fleet's sensors detected Cosmos. The massive creature had been hiding behind a gas cloud, but it moved to protect the new dawn when the alien ships began advancing. Contact. Massive biosignature detected, shouted the sensor operator aboard Sovereign Justice. Admiral Korth Vel saw Cosmos on his main screen and immediately ordered his fleet to attack. All ships open fire. Destroy the creature before it can strike. 12 alien warships launched their most powerful weapons at Cosmos. Energy beams and missiles flew through space toward the giant creature, but something amazing happened. Instead of being destroyed or even damaged, Cosmos simply absorbed the weapon fire. Its body glowed brighter as it converted the attack energy into harmless light. Admiral, our weapons are having no effect, reported the tactical officer. Lisa watched in amazement as Cosmos moved toward the alien fleet. But instead of attacking, the creature began to disable the ships without harming them. Its tentacles wrapped gently around each vessel, shutting down their engines and weapons but being careful not to crush the hulls. Amy, what is Cosmos doing? Lisa asked. It's following our earlier conversations about restraint and mercy, Commander. Cosmos remembers when we talked about resolving conflicts without violence. One by one, the alien ships found themselves helplessly floating in space, held gently but firmly by Cosmos's tentacles. The creature had neutralized an entire fleet without harming a single crew member. Admiral Korth Vel was astounded. This is impossible. The creature should have destroyed us all. Lisa opened a communication channel to the entire alien fleet. Admiral, this is what we've been trying to tell you. Cosmos is not a monster. It's a protector. But the historical records are from ships that threatened Cosmos's children, Dr. Clark explained. When you approach with peaceful intentions, Cosmos responds peacefully. To prove their point, Amy transmitted the mathematical emotional language that Cosmos used for communication. She sent messages of peace and curiosity to the alien fleet. Cosmos responded by creating a beautiful light display across its body, patterns that conveyed welcome and friendship. Admiral, Lucy Carter added, Cosmos has been alone for thousands of years. It never wanted to fight. It only wanted to protect its family and maybe find some friends. Admiral Korth Vel was quiet for a long time. His worldview was being completely overturned. Commander Parker, if what you say is true, then my people have been wrong about this creature for centuries. Not wrong, Admiral. Just frightened. Fear makes it hard to see the truth sometimes. Cosmos began to release the alien ships one by one, but slowly, showing that it meant no harm. As each ship regained control, its crew ran full sensor scans on the creature. Admiral, we're detecting no hostile intent from the creature, reported the science officer aboard Sovereign Justice. In fact, it appears to be generating protective fields around our ships. Ben smiled. Cosmos is making sure you're all safe from the radiation in this nebula. It's protecting you. Captain Morrison and Earth's Hope arrived just as the demonstration was ending. Jake saw the alien fleet floating peacefully near the massive Leviathan and couldn't believe his eyes. Lisa, what exactly happened here? We proved that the most feared creature in the galaxy is actually the most misunderstood, Lisa replied. Admiral Korth Vel addressed both human captains. Commanders Morrison and Parker, I owe your species an apology. We came here expecting to rescue you from a monster, but instead we've learned that the monster was only in our own fears. Amy transmitted a message from Cosmos to the alien fleet. The creature was offering to share its knowledge of the galaxy with any species that approached it peacefully. Admiral, Lisa said, Cosmos has observed the galaxy for thousands of years. It knows about cosmic phenomena, resource locations, and navigational hazards that could benefit all spacefaring species. And all it wanted in return was friendship, added Lucy. Admiral Korth Vel made a decision that would change galactic history. Commander Parker, would Cosmos be willing to meet with representatives from the Galactic Council? I believe we have much to learn from both your species and this remarkable creature. Lisa looked at Cosmos floating peacefully among the alien ships, its bioluminescent patterns creating a cosmic aurora of welcome and joy. Admiral, I think Cosmos would like that very much. It's been waiting for this moment for a very long time. The beast that couldn't be tamed had done something even more impressive than being tamed. It had tamed the fears and prejudices of an entire galaxy through the simple power of understanding and friendship. 3 months after the peaceful encounter with the alien fleet, the Crimson Nebula had become the most important location in the galaxy. Representatives from dozens of species had come to meet Cosmos, and a temporary research station was being constructed nearby. Dr. Ben Clark floated in a specially designed laboratory pod that allowed him to work directly alongside Cosmos in the vacuum of space. The massive creature had learned to create small atmosphere bubbles for the human researchers, making close collaboration possible. Cosmos, can you show me the star formation you witnessed in the Andromeda sector 2,000 years ago? Ben asked through his communication device. The ancient being responded by projecting a 3-dimensional hologram made of pure energy. The image showed the birth of a star system in incredible detail, far more accurate than any telescope could provide. This is remarkable, Ben said into his recorder. Cosmos has first-hand observational data spanning millennia. Its memory contains a complete history of stellar evolution in this part of the galaxy. Engineer Rachel Smith worked nearby, studying how Cosmos manipulated energy and matter on a cosmic scale. The creature could bend space-time slightly, create protective force fields, and even generate matter from pure energy. Ben, ask Cosmos how it creates those defensive barriers. Ben translated the question into the mathematical emotional language that had become standard for communicating with Cosmos. The creature's response came as a complex series of equations combined with sensory impressions. It says it works with the fundamental forces of the universe like a musician works with notes, Ben interpreted. Cosmos doesn't fight against physics, it harmonizes with the natural vibrations of space-time. Rachel's eyes widened. If we could understand that principle, we could revolutionize shield technology for every species in the galaxy. On the main research station, Commander Lisa Parker met with representatives from the Galactic Council. The elegant conference room had been specially designed to accommodate species with different atmospheric and gravitational needs. Commander Parker, said Delegate Zefka of the Vrex Federation, the information Cosmos has shared about gravitational anomalies has already saved 3 cargo convoys from disaster. How much more knowledge does the creature possess? Lisa consulted her datapad. According to our xenopsychologist Lucy Carter, Cosmos has detailed information about cosmic phenomena throughout this entire galactic arm. It knows the locations of black holes, neutron stars, and cosmic radiation fields that don't appear on any of our star charts. Admiral Korthvel of the Hegemony leaned forward with his forearms folded. Commander, my science teams report that Cosmos can predict solar flares and cosmic storms with incredible accuracy. This information could protect billions of lives. Cosmos wants to share everything it knows, Lisa replied. But it has one condition. The alien delegates looked concerned. What condition? Peace. Cosmos won't share its knowledge with any species that uses the information for warfare. It's tired of watching civilizations destroy themselves. Delegate Merka of the Aquatic Union bubbled thoughtfully in her water-filled chamber. How would Cosmos enforce such a condition? Lisa smiled. It wouldn't need to enforce anything. Cosmos can read the intentions of any species that approaches it. If you come with thoughts of conquest or violence, it simply won't cooperate. Dr. Amy Foster worked in the communications center, where she had become the galaxy's leading expert on Cosmos speak, the mathematical emotional language the creature used. Representatives from various species came to her for translation training. The key to understanding Cosmos, Amy explained to a group of Rex scientists, is to remember that it thinks in terms of harmony and balance. When you communicate with it, express your ideas as part of a larger pattern rather than isolated facts. One of the Vrex scientists, a young researcher named Kef Ra, raised a question. Dr. Foster, how does Cosmos view the different species in the galaxy? Amy consulted her notes. Cosmos sees each species as having unique strengths and weaknesses. It believes the galaxy would be much more stable if species worked together instead of competing. Does it have opinions about human behavior specifically? Cosmos is fascinated by human creativity and adaptability. It says humans are the first species it's met that can change their thinking when presented with new information. Most species, according to Cosmos, are locked into rigid patterns of behavior. On the engineering deck, Rachel Smith made a breakthrough that would change space travel forever. Working with Cosmos's guidance, she had developed a new type of ship drive that worked by harmonizing with space-time rather than fighting against it. "Commander Parker, you need to see this," Rachel called excitedly. Lisa arrived to find Rachel standing next to a small prototype engine that seemed to be bending the air around it. "What am I looking at, Rachel?" "A propulsion system based on Cosmos's teachings. Instead of pushing against space, this drive creates a harmony wave that allows a ship to flow through space-time like a boat riding a river current." Lisa studied the readings on Rachel's instruments. "How fast could a ship travel using this technology?" "Initial calculations suggest we could cross the galaxy in months instead of years. And the energy requirements are a fraction of what current FTL drives need. Have you tested it?" "Not yet, but Cosmos has offered to help with the first test flight. It says it can guide us safely through the harmony fields." The implications were staggering. If this technology worked, it would revolutionize space travel for every species in the galaxy. Lucy Carter spent her days in deep communication with Cosmos, learning about the creature's philosophical views on life and existence. These conversations had become popular broadcasts throughout the galaxy, with billions of beings listening to the ancient wisdom of the space whale. "Cosmos, what do you think is the purpose of intelligent life in the universe?" Lucy asked during one of their sessions. The creature's response was complex, combining mathematical concepts about information theory with emotional impressions about growth and connection. "Cosmos says that intelligence exists to understand the universe and create beauty within it," Lucy translated. "It believes that every intelligent species adds something unique to the cosmic symphony. What about species that seem focused on war and conquest?" Cosmos sees them as incomplete symphonies. It says that species focused only on power and domination are missing the harmony that comes from cooperation and mutual understanding. "Does Cosmos think there's hope for such species?" The creature's response was warm and optimistic. "Cosmos believes that any species can learn to harmonize with the universe if they're given the right examples and opportunities." Captain Jake Morrison visited the research station regularly, coordinating security and supply runs. He was amazed by how quickly the entire dynamic of galactic politics had changed. "Lisa, I just got a report from Earth Command. 3 different alien species have requested permission to establish joint research colonies with humanity." "Which species?" "The Vrex Federation, the Crystal Collective, and, surprisingly, the Korthak Empire. They all want to study human creativity and adaptability." Lisa laughed. 6 months ago, most of them thought we were too primitive to be worth talking to. Cosmos changed that. When the most ancient being in the galaxy says humans are special, people pay attention. Jake looked out at Cosmos floating peacefully among the research vessels. "You know what amazes me most about all this?" "What?" "We never tried to tame Cosmos. We just tried to understand it. And in doing so, we've helped bring together the most diverse alliance in galactic history." The research station now hosted representatives from over 20 different species, all working together to learn from Cosmos and each other. The creature that had once been feared as the ultimate destroyer had become the ultimate teacher. Dr. Clark made perhaps the most important discovery during his direct collaboration with Cosmos. The ancient being revealed the locations of other space-dwelling creatures throughout the galaxy, creatures that had been hiding from the smaller species out of fear. "Commander, Cosmos isn't the only one of its kind," Ben reported excitedly. "There are others scattered throughout the galaxy, creatures just as ancient and wise. They've been avoiding contact because they didn't want to be hunted or feared." "How many others?" "At least a dozen that Cosmos knows about, possibly more. Cosmos says they've all been watching the younger species, hoping that someday they could make peaceful contact." Lisa realized the full scope of what humanity had accomplished. They hadn't just made friends with one ancient creature. They had opened the door to contact with an entire hidden civilization of cosmic beings. "Ben, ask Cosmos if it would be willing to introduce us to the others." The creature's response was filled with joy and anticipation. After thousands of years of loneliness, Cosmos would finally be able to reunite with its own kind, and it wanted to share this reunion with the humans who had made it possible. The alliance between humanity and Cosmos had grown into something much larger, a new era of cooperation between all intelligent life in the galaxy, guided by the wisdom of ancient beings who had watched civilizations rise and fall across the eons. 1 year after first contact with Cosmos, the galaxy was a very different place. Commander Lisa Parker stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station, the permanent research facility that had been built in the Crimson Nebula. Through the large viewing windows, she could see something that would have been impossible to imagine just months earlier. Cosmos floated peacefully among dozens of ships from different species. 3 of its offspring, now grown large enough to travel safely, swam playfully between the vessels. Most remarkably, 2 other ancient space creatures had arrived to meet their old friend. "It never gets old, does it?" said Captain Jake Morrison, joining Lisa at the window. "What's that?" "Watching the impossible become normal," Lisa smiled. Jake was right. The sight of massive space whales working alongside tiny spacecraft had become routine at Harmony Station, but it still filled her with wonder. Dr. Lucy Carter's voice came over the station intercom. "Commander Parker, please report to Communication Center 1. We're about to make contact with the 4th ancient being." Lisa and Jake hurried to the communication center, where they found Lucy working with representatives from 6 different species. The mathematical emotional translation equipment had been improved dramatically over the past year, allowing real-time communication between humans, aliens, and the space creatures. "What's the status, Lucy?" "Cosmos and the other ancients have been calling to their friend in the Spiral Arm region. It's finally responding and should arrive within the hour." Amy Foster looked up from her console. "Commander, the incoming creature is different from the others. Cosmos says it specializes in healing and biological harmony." "How is it different?" Dr. Ben Clark answered from his research station. "According to Cosmos, each of the ancient beings developed different specialties over the millions of years they've existed. Cosmos is a guardian and protector. The other 2 are explorers and mappers. This new one is a healer." Admiral Korth Vell of the Hegemony had become a frequent visitor to Harmony Station. "Commander Parker, my medical teams are very interested in meeting this healing creature. We have many wounded veterans who could benefit from advanced healing techniques. Admiral, I'm sure the healer will be happy to help, as long as the approach is peaceful and respectful." The past year had seen remarkable changes throughout the galaxy. The technology shared by Cosmos had revolutionized space travel, with Rachel Smith's Harmony drives now being used by ships from dozens of species. Travel times between star systems had been reduced by 80%, and the energy savings had made interstellar commerce much more profitable. More importantly, the ancient beings had shared their cosmic weather predictions, preventing 3 major disasters that could have killed millions of people. Solar storms that would have destroyed entire colonies were predicted months in advance, allowing for proper preparation and evacuation. Engineer Mike Taylor worked in the Advanced Technology Lab, where he was studying the healing techniques that Cosmos had taught them. "Commander, we've successfully adapted Cosmos's bioregeneration methods for 12 different alien species. The medical applications are incredible. Any side effects? None that we've detected. In fact, the healing seems to strengthen the patient's natural immune systems. Several species are reporting longer lifespans and improved health in individuals who have received the treatments." Lisa walked over to the main viewing window as sensors detected the approach of the 4th ancient being. This creature was even larger than Cosmos, with a body that seemed to be made of flowing silver light. Instead of tentacles, it had hundreds of delicate appendages that moved like silk ribbons in a cosmic breeze. "Amy, are you receiving communication from the new arrival?" "Yes, Commander. Its patterns are very different from Cosmos. Where Cosmos thinks in terms of protection and harmony, this being thinks in terms of healing and growth." The silver creature approached Harmony Station slowly, its movements graceful and soothing. As it drew closer, everyone on the station began to feel a sense of peace and well-being. "Commander," reported Dr. Taylor, "the creature is generating some kind of healing field. All the patients in our medical bay are showing rapid improvement." Lucy established communication with the newcomer, which introduced itself with concepts related to restoration, renewal, and the healing of both bodies and minds. "Commander, the healer says it's been waiting for this moment for a very long time. It wants to help heal the wounds between species that have been fighting for centuries." This was bigger than medical healing. The creature was talking about healing the psychological and cultural damage caused by millennia of interspecies warfare and mistrust. Over the following weeks, delegations from former enemy species came to Harmony Station to meet with the healer. Ancient grudges that had lasted for thousands of years began to dissolve as the creature helped representatives understand each other's perspectives and fears. The Korthak Empire and the Crystal Collective, who had been at war for 800 years, signed a peace treaty after their ambassadors spent time in the healer's presence. The Vrex Federation resolved border disputes with 3 neighboring species through mediated discussions guided by the ancient beings. Wisdom Dr. Ben Clark made another groundbreaking discovery during his research with the 4 ancient creatures. Commander, I've learned something amazing about these beings. They're not just individuals. They're connected to each other across vast distances through some kind of quantum consciousness network. What does that mean for us? It means there are probably dozens, maybe hundreds of these creatures throughout the galaxy, all sharing information and experiences. We've made contact with an entire hidden civilization. The implications were staggering. Humanity had not just befriended one ancient being, but had gained access to a network of cosmic intelligence that spanned the entire galaxy. Captain Morrison received a message from Earth Command that made him smile. Lisa, you need to hear this. Earth has been invited to join the Galactic Council as a full member, not just an observer. The vote was unanimous. Unanimous? Even the species that used to consider us primitive? Especially them. Apparently, our success with Cosmos has convinced everyone that humans have something unique to offer the galaxy. The success at Harmony Station had inspired similar projects throughout the galaxy. Other ancient beings had made contact with different species, leading to a renaissance of cooperation and technological advancement. Lucy Carter had become the galaxy's leading expert on ancient being psychology. Her research was helping other species establish their own relationships with the cosmic creatures. Commander, I've been analyzing the communication patterns of all 4 ancients, Lucy reported. They're not just pleased about making contact with us. They're relieved. Relieved about what? They were beginning to lose hope about the younger species. For millions of years, they've watched civilizations rise and fall, usually destroying themselves through warfare or environmental damage. They were starting to think that intelligence was ultimately self-destructive. And now they see that cooperation and understanding are possible. Humans proved that by approaching Cosmos with curiosity instead of fear, that simple act changed their entire perspective on the potential of younger species. Engineer Rachel Smith had continued developing new technologies based on ancient being knowledge. Her latest project was a communication system that could transmit messages across the galaxy instantly. Commander, if this works, we'll be able to maintain real-time communication with Earth even from the far side of the galaxy. How does it work? The ancients exist partially outside normal space-time. They can share information across vast distances instantaneously. They've agreed to act as communication relays for peaceful species. The test was successful. Messages that previously took months to travel across the galaxy now arrived in seconds. The ancient beings had become the backbone of a new galactic communication network. 5 years after first contact, Lisa Parker had been promoted to Admiral and placed in charge of all human-ancient being relations. She stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel New Hope, watching as young human cadets worked alongside alien officers and ancient being offspring. Admiral, called Communications Officer Danny White, we're receiving a message from the newest ancient being. It says it's found evidence of intelligence in the Magellanic Clouds and wants to know if we'd like to help make first contact. Lisa smiled. The galaxy had become a much larger and more wondrous place than anyone had imagined. The creature that couldn't be tamed had instead tamed the fears and prejudices that had divided the galaxy for millennia. Danny, tell our ancient friend that humanity would be honored to help. After all, making friends with impossible creatures is what we do best. As the New Hope set course for the edge of the galaxy, escorted by 3 ancient beings and a fleet of ships from a dozen different species, Lisa reflected on how much everything had changed. The beast that couldn't be tamed had never needed taming. It had only needed understanding. And in understanding Cosmos, humanity had taught the galaxy how to understand itself. The age of cooperation had begun, guided by ancient wisdom and human curiosity, proving once again that the universe was far stranger, more beautiful and more friendly than anyone had dared to dream.